now 6:34 p.m. Let's call the meeting to order. Ms. Clerk, Deputy Clerk.
Board Member Dezume. Board Member Bieneme.
Here.
Board Member Galvin. Board Member Keys. Here. Chairman Joseph.
Here.
Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Let's proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance before we go forward. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Today, I believe we have one item only on the agenda. It's pretty much to discuss a resolution approving second amendment to the interlocal the cooperation agreement with the Miami-Dade County. So at this time, I don't know if Miss Deputy Clerk has to read it, or does she have anything to read into the record? Nothing to read into the record?
You need one? These? Do we do all the time? Oh, that's mine is upstairs. If you will allow me, Mr. Chairman. What the item before you is yes. The item before you is a resolution to consider the approval of a second amendment to the existing North Miami CRA interlocal cooperative agreement with the city of North Miami and Miami-Dade County. The version of the document that was included in this item has actually migrated in the last hour, and before you go through full consideration, I want to make sure I read those items those amendments into the record for your consideration. Overall, this item, as far as the financing plan, is consistent with the last version that I briefed you publicly on after we negotiated with Miami-Dade County and the mayor's office staff, which included the $1 million cap on the city's contribution, also a 50% CRA with regards to the east side of the city, and particularly the Solomia area of the CRA, and is compliant with all of the newly passed CRA requirements imposed on all the CRAs by the county. So the 4% administrative cost, the community benefits agreement on capital expenditures over 200,000, a commitment to do a minimum of 10% towards affordable workforce and market rate housing initiatives as a CRA on an annual basis. What has changed specifically, and I'll point you to the provisions in section, hold on, let me make sure it's right here. Section B, one little I. Sure, you can read the resolution while we're turn to the page.
Through the chair.
No, I knew it was here. I was just trying to get the
Resolution reads as a resolution of the chairman and board members of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency approving the second amendment to the interlocal cooperation agreement by and among Miami-Dade County, the city of North Miami, Florida, and the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency, authorizing the chairman and the executive director of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency to execute the second amendment to the interlocal cooperation agreement, further authorizing the executive director to take any and all action necessary to implement and fulfill the obligations of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency as provided therein, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. The first change is under Provision F, Paragraph 9, subsection B, parent small I, Provision 1. The county added, part of the time extension here was to add, I guess, push the deadline of July 1st, 2017, in order for the city to consider the reduction in boundaries that we discussed at the discussion item at the last city council meeting. I'd like to read the entire paragraph specifically, and then I'll highlight.
Where is that, please?
In the interlocal document you have is Provision F, Paragraph 9, Roman numeral 9, subsection B, capital B, parent small I, Provision 1.
You have a page, no, there is no page
There's
number.
no page numbers, that's what's confusing, because there's so many B, Cs, Ds, 9
Yeah.
subsections, but it's right here.
Can you start again from the major section?
It's there.
Section F,
Go through the back.
Section
No,
F.
but it's these,
Yeah.
it goes from
Mm-hmm.
D to,
D, yeah, because remember, this is the, only the amended provisions, it's not the
These-
original.
these letters are really off.
They're there, it's accurate, but it absolutely
It's the
is
7th
confusing.
page.
Well,
Hmm?
you
There's
got-
B, C, there's C
Yeah.
on page 2,
Right, but
and
you've
there's
got BD,
subsections.
and C jumps to G.
Right.
No, you're,
It's on
Make sure
page
we have the
7.
same copies
it's on
now.
page 7. You have
I've
the same
got
copy.
B, and then
Right.
you have a subparagraph
Can
D
you
and
read?
B.
Can you read the title of F that you're talking about? You're talking about
BC,
project management,
this-
administration,
okay,
and
so
No,
coordination.
F says, the title in here says, all F says is, the agreement is amended to add following paragraph.
there is no F in here.
There's no
There is no F.
for the.
It's there.
It's
You
there.
have to
Page
flip
7.
back
Keep going.
further.
Oh, it's further back. Okay,
Yes.
E and F.
Yeah,
It,
but-
it would have been
Okay.
incredibly
Yeah, but you say
helpful
F.
if they could have been even hand numbered.
I just got it.
One,
I
Literally.
understand.
2,
I didn't even,
3,
county could have
4,
just-
5. Page number 6.
so you start at 6 and then turn over to 7 because it's provision under F, paragraph Roman numeral 9, provision capital B, paren small I, by July, which reads by July 1st, 2017, the agency shall have approved and shall have submitted to the county for approval a plan amendment which reduces the boundaries of the redevelopment area and provides for affordable housing and workforce housing along major corridors, including 7th Avenue. In order, and this is the last minute change order, the most recent change, I should say, that's underlined, in order to implement the affordable and workforce housing that will be set forth in the plan amendment, the city and the agency shall take all actions necessary and legal to change the City of North Miami zoning and comprehensive plan to permit the affordable and workforce housing along the major corridors, including 7th Avenue as required and set forth herein, before September 30th, 2024. It goes on to read, such changes to the boundaries of the redevelopment area shall be in accordance with Exhibit 3 or some variation of boundaries that are acceptable to the county. The last minute add, and I'll let the attorney speak to it, was this issue of the taking all necessary actions, all necessary actions, necessary and legal, to change the zoning and the plan amendment, comprehensive plan, excuse me, to allow for affordable housing on major corridors and 7th Avenue. As you know, currently on 7th Avenue, based on the comprehensive plan that was approved by this board some months ago and now approved by the state, and we're in the process of redrafting the land development regulations, prohibited residential on the corridor.
Which one?
So, on
the
Seventh
east
Avenue,
of 7.
on the east, on Seventh period.
On the east part of 7.
No, on Seventh period. I reviewed it today.
But,
So,
It says 7th. It says 7th.
Seventh Avenue.
It doesn't say east or west.
It doesn't
says
matter.
7th.
I'm talking about in the comprehensive plan.
The comprehensive
No
plan as
residential
it sta-
on the
as it
east part of 7th Avenue.
no, as the comprehensive plan, and we can have planning and zoning come down. Seventh
No, what-
Avenue is
if I may clarify, what Councilman is referring to on the east side of 7th Avenue, it wasn't just for workforce housing, it was for the height restriction
correct.
that we legislated on the height.
Or the height.
You
Yeah.
put a special overlay district
Yeah.
that allowed for 200 feet on the east
east side.
side of Seventh Avenue.
Mhm.
Seventh Avenue in total is commercial at 55 feet as it is set today.
Commercial and residential.
No,
What about the
commercial.
residential? Oh, they're going to
Only commercial.
that's the change that we're looking
That
at
is
tonight.
no, that's what currently exists in our comprehensive plan today as we
Okay.
sit here.
Okay.
What they're asking us to do is to consider changing that so that affordable housing or housing in these categories can be
Yeah.
built on that corridor.
Okay.
So consider it. It doesn't say you have to approve it, but you do have to. I guess the administration would have to bring forth then a resolution or some consideration of the item. And I'll let the attorney.
Can we come up? Can the comprehensive plan be changed?
Well, that was the conversation we had with the county attorney's office. What I made clear to them was I would not recommend that you all approve this if it was in their opinion, because it was my opinion that what they were trying to do was to have you contractually agree to vote a certain way 6 months from now. Which you can't do. I mean, you all are obligated to do what's in the best interest of the CRA, and and when you're sitting as the council, you're obligated to do what's in the best interest of the city. And there's no way for you to know that 6 months from now. So for you to contractually agree to vote a certain way, it would be, in my opinion, illegal to do that. And we expressed that to them, and they kept on explaining that that was not their intent to force you to agree to this. Their intent was simply for you to consider it, and that was what they told all three of us. And at that point, I said we will move forward with it. But the understanding, and we're making it clear tonight, is, and I said this exactly. I said, if we bring a resolution before this CRA and 3 of the members of the board do not agree to do this, we're not in violation of this, and they agreed. So that's what they told us, and so that's why we're moving it forward as it is tonight.
But my question again, can we change the comprehensive plan?
Yes, I mean that's possible, but you have to go through all the steps of doing
The
that. The
state and
problem
everything.
was,
Right.
and that's why we got the change to September 2024, was because originally that wasn't in there. They said that this all had to be done by July 1st of 2017, which would have been impossible. So you would have been agreeing to do something that we knew beforehand was impossible.
Okay, now
2024, maybe
it
it's
is
possible.
7 years.
It's 7 years.
from now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
7
been
years
in
from
the
now.
maybe
That
in
would
the
be the
new
time to
comprehensive
7 years
plan.
from next year.
Oh, that's been, okay. When we're about to reconsider the
Right,
comprehensive
right.
plan. Okay.
I won't be there. I won't be here.
will.
So I won't have to worry about that.
May I ask a question? Going to, I'm a little confused. I guess it's the 3rd page, and it's G and H. So G states that all the TIF money, and this is west of
Page
Biscayne.
4, right?
Actually,
G.
it's
Contract
it's my
It's the
requirement.
third page. It's the third page.
Top of the page is G.
Okay.
So G has to do with west of Biscayne Boulevard.
Correct.
Okay, so this says that the TIF revenues shall remain unappropriated and unexpended unless we have a bond or debt. So technically, unless we do a bond for,
No, it's referring. I know what
okay,
it's
so unless we're doing a bond or borrow money, all the TIF revenue from all the TIF revenue goes into the agency, and then it goes back to the county because we don't have bond debt.
That is only referring to the portion that we are agreeing to give back.
But this doesn't say a portion, it says all the TIF, that's the west. I don't see a portion giving back,
That's the county's portion.
that's the county's portion, is all of the TIF on the west appears to be all county, there's no 45 coming back, and it's all going back to the county unless we have bond debt.
Well, I think you need to go a few sentences before that. And it says, the agency and provide for annual refunding by the agency of the portion of such TIF revenues to the county as follows.
Where's,
That's the first sentence. That's the end of, and then you have colons there.
I don't see where you're reading
So
that.
you start the first sentence at the beginning. City and county
Okay.
hereby agree to
Mhm.
limit the amount of tax increment revenues that can be expended by the agency and provide for annual refunding by the agency of a portion of such TIF revenues to the county as follows. So the reference to the shall remain unappropriated is to that portion.
Where do we have the definition of the portion?
If you keep each year in which the county and the city shall make TIF revenue payments to the fund, the budget for expenditure funded by TIF revenues shall be capped so that an amount equivalent to the TIF revenues as would be derived from the redevelopment area other than properties
west
to
properties.
the east of Biscayne Boulevard, as more particularly described in Exhibit 2, shall remain unappropriated and unexpended. So
I don't see anything that says anything other than 100% of all TIF revenue on the west side.
well,
You say a portion, but what's the
that's-
portion?
we refund now the west side right
Right.
now,
Well,
the county's portion.
Okay, but that continues.
Yes.
So forget a portion, all of the TIF coming from the west side, if we don't have debt, goes back to the county. So we have, we have no TIF
Up.
revenue.
Wait, no. With the exception that they're allowing for, well, and we'll keep reading.
I just
Where's
wanna
pick
be-
back up?
Yeah,
Okay.
it says except for bonds, for, you know.
No, I'm
repayment of
talking about-
payments.
And then if there was an excess over 1 million,
That-
we
that's the
would give
cap.
that back also.
Yeah, that's the cap.
Right, that's the cap.
But basically, all TIF, if we don't have debt service, all TIF on the west side goes back to the county. So we have no income,
The
no TIF revenue.
the county portion.
What's the county portion?
They're,
Is-
50-50.
no.
No.
They contribute a lesser percentage than we do to the TIF.
I mean,
Councilwoman, explain for us, please, in layman's language, what are you worried that is being
Oh,
worked in here? What
Okay,
what is
so
your
I want to
feeling?
keep going. I'm trying to get this clear. So do you think the city has part of that TIF?
We are contributing to the trust fund.
Okay. So on the second paragraph H, it seems to read the same way. So everything on the east again says that the TIF revenues shall remain unappropriated except for debt service, and then annually an equivalent amount of the TIF revenue, 45%, goes back to the city.
What that is,
So for me, what I'm reading is the TIF revenue from Solomia, 45% of it will go to the city. The remaining 45 that goes back to the county,
no.
will go back to the county if we don't have bond. Again, it's the unallocated.
No.
So where does the money go into the general fund? I'm saying I don't see any money of TIF going into our general
So
fund.
the refund to the refund of the redevelopment agency back to the taxing authority,
Mhm.
that is us getting money back into the general fund.
45%.
Yes.
And what happens to the other 45% if it's not
The 45% is for use in the trust fund. I mean, the 50% is for use in the trust fund.
But if it's not, but it says if it's unappropriated and unexpended, except it shall remain unappropriated and unexpended, except if we have debt service. So again, I think this is new that they've added this, I mean,
This is the same language that,
Is it?
this is the same language that has been here in the First Amendment and.
In the
and
okay,
This is
Okay,
the
so
same language.
I'm just concerned that this language also restricts the TIF from the east side to it having to be subject to bond financing or debt.
No. This is
It's
this is
very confusing the way it's read. And so my third prong of this question, because it looked like that the CRA is really not getting a whole lot of funding, because we're not getting from the west, and it looks like in here that 45%.
let me clarify something. The way CRAs are constructed, the TIF fund, the trust fund, there is a contribution from.
Now, before we proceed, we only have 5 minutes before it's 7. Are we on a time constraint? Do we have to start
Well,
our regular meeting at 7?
We have a
I'm-
short meeting.
No, we can finish
I'm
the
just-
meeting and go.
We can finish whatever. Okay, we
So,
can.
so
we can
let me
spill
go to the third question so you get where I'm coming from. So now you've got by September 3rd, 24, which is in 7 years, maybe 8 years, we have to spend $3 million for the 7th Avenue affordable housing. $3 million. Correct?
that's a benchmark. That's
That's
a
a benchmark.
milestone.
And what happens if we don't? Do we get,
No,
Defaulted?
so I
and
think
are we, and the second, are we gonna have $3 million to do that?
we will have $3 million to do it, but as you, I guess, jump around, the milestones, we have 3 different milestones. The way the milestones have been agreed to is we do 2 of 3. We don't automatically sunset, it's just that is a goal so they understand that we are moving in the right direction. So you have A, which you just read, to invest
so we
$3
have-
million into infrastructure
downtown.
improvement, or the downtown,
Okay.
or the assessed value in
Or then we have the
the
assessment. Okay, I'm good on that. I just wanna make sure we had enough
rehab
money.
and or the right.
Okay.
With regards to how the trust fund works, in layman's terms, I guess for the audience, our CRA is internally segmented into the 2 portions. You have the east side, east of Biscayne Boulevard, and the entire west side. On the east side, what we're saying, or what we're agreeing to, is a 50% CRA. City and county both, except the county's portion of the entire CRA, not just the east or west side, is capped at $1 million. Period. The city's portion, the city will be only contributing 50% of its required amount into the trust fund, because we will be refunding the city 45% of the 95 that we contribute.
And we don't have to worry about it being encumbered?
No, that money will be in our annual budget. We'll approve it, and you preside over it.
It just,
The reference to the not appropriating is to the amounts that are to go back. They're putting belts and suspenders on, making sure they're legally telling us not to appropriate the money, i.e., don't put it in your budget and don't spend it, because it's supposed to go back. So it's just kind of extra language to ensure that we comply with the give back.
Okay.
it just looks like it's
It
the
reads
sa-
funny, it
reads
does.
like it's the same on the east and the west, and it looks like if we don't have debt
That
service,
language
that
was
all the
added
all of it goes back.
Because of the $1 million global cap. That's why they put it on both, to say, even on the east side, our total contribution is gonna be capped at $1 million, and everything over that everything county over that needs to come back.
Unless we have
A bond that, and if we do a bond, keep in mind, they will have to approve it, the county will have to approve it, and typically the pledge, the revenue pledge that underwrites the bond will include the entire trust fund. And then after we make the debt payment every year, then we do we would do this
That's
We will do this.
exercise.
It will be 100% cap
No, the
from
way
the money that you
on the bond,
return.
on a
Yeah,
bond,
yeah.
but we would all agree in the bond documents
CRA.
that the CRA, the city, and the county will have to approve the bond because we're all agreeing to let our monies be pledged
Oh,
in the
okay,
in the
to
trust
that
fund,
also, okay,
right?
okay.
Now,
100% of the money
100% of the
to-
money
to that
until the
trust?
debt payment is made each year,
mm-hmm.
and then you go through the exercise of, all right, return the unused west side portion,
That's
return the
Meaning annually, we won't have
Right.
any money to the general fund.
Yeah, you
That
will.
would be
You
applied.
still will. You still will have the money to the general fund, but it'll only happen this
Applied to
exercise
those bond projects.
debt payment first.
Okay.
So basically, when you do the bond documents, you say we have to pay our debt first, our legal debt first, and then you do everything else. So
When you continue from page 6 onto page 7,
mhm.
the number 2, it says the assessed value of the taxable real property contained within the geographic boundaries of the areas set forth on Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2 shall have increased by at least 40%. So they struck out
35.
35.
Yep.
So this is from the old, which one? So
35
35
was
was from the old
No,
agreement?
no. 35 was added because we went back to them and said because we've been going through this process,
Mm-hmm.
we asked for another year, an additional year to meet our milestones. So they just added another 5% to that particular milestone. So the expectation is
Mm-hmm.
in the additional year, we'll go up another 5%.
Okay.
So you just pointed out one of the other changes was we asked and they agreed to extend the milestone benchmark date by a year because we've been going through this process and by the time we finish, a year would have passed.
Mm-hmm.
So the other changes that we requested if you keep continuing in that section, you see it highlighted
On that, after that, what
subject
I
to a city of North Miami zoning. That was a request that we made when we read, their intent for us to have affordable housing and workforce housing on 7th Avenue. We said, well, currently our zoning and our comp plan are inconsistent with that.
Mm-hmm.
So can you at least put subject to the zoning? And they agreed, and then today we got the additional language of, all right, since your zoning may look this way today, make all efforts to make it look compatible with what we're asking.
So, you have something to say?
Those are,
So-
we've actually gone through all of the changes.
If I can make it clear, are you presenting this document to us that was conveyed to us through you, what you said from the county not too long ago?
Yes, we received it around about 4 o'clock.
So is it my understanding that the only change that was produced from all the going back and forth we've been doing for the past few weeks are simply that item
No.
F, is it?
So what would in the last few weeks of going back and forth from my presentation was the addition of this B paren I,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is all of the things we need to do by July
Mm-hmm.
1st, 2017. And the
Now,
language,
now it's 2024.
a portion of it is 20. We still have to submit new boundaries or consideration of new boundaries
Consideration.
by
Okay.
July 1st, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
But the land use or the zoning and comprehensive plan changes don't need to take place until 2024.
And we don't, in that interlocal agreement, there is no boundary to reconsider in
Yeah.
July, by July.
Not right now.
Not right.
What you're
Okay.
what you're approving, the boundaries you're approving right now are the same boundaries we've always had.
Okay.
But what do we have to do by July?
By July, we need to present,
Consider in your boundary.
consider the new boundaries that are consistent
It
with
can be
the map.
bigger or
Potentially, yes,
We can
because the
present a
last,
bigger one.
yeah, because the last
So which
sentence
means we have
says-
to bring RMA again, so RMA has to come back in and take
Um,
that document. And I mean, I'm just trying to say, what are the dynamics?
Yes.
What is it
So-
going to
so
take
yes, we
for
will-
that to really happen?
In order for that to happen, yes, we need to go through that process again. We'd have to look at what the new boundaries is, assess the slum and blight in that new boundary area, amend the plan that RMA helped us develop to be consistent with the boundaries and the goals associated with our boundaries.
What is the cost estimate on that?
We spent what, 75 for the entire
Yeah, for
2
the entire.
years. So it'll be some fraction of that, say 20% of that number.
20%.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to ask the county to contribute to that, please? No, I mean, no, since we went back and forth for 2 years and we engaged, I mean, we hired a company to do the legwork, go back and forth, and we shaved and shaved and shaved based on their recommendations. Now, this is being dumped on us for the last minute. After we followed everything, we crossed all the T's and we dotted all the I's based on their recommendation. Now they are asking us to do this. I think it's only fair.
So
That's
you,
the least
you
that
absolutely, as a
we
board,
could
can ask the county to pay for that.
Yeah.
Having
it's-
dealt with them on CRA matters in the past, they're going to say no problem. Take it out of our portion of the trust fund. And
I mean, that's
no,
the
but
only
no,
cost.
yeah,
Because if there is no boundary in the interlocal agreement to reconsider in July, and we can have the IMA.
no.
extend even the boundary of the CRA.
The boundaries that they want us to consider are the major corridor boundaries, which are 7th Avenue, 119th, 125th, West Dixie.
Yeah, but
Avenue.
this one, that
The
that
one we are
boundary-
approving is the same.
Okay, that's been. This one is based on.
What they want us to consider is the
Okay.
one that I updated you on at the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
So
All right, it's 7:05, so we.
So those are the changes in total. After you consider this item as a CRA, we added an item to the city agenda for you to just vote on it as a city. I guess
The
we
same
want,
thing.
this is the exact same.
Do we have to we have to vote on this one now,
You have to vote on this one now, and then when we convene as a city council, you'll vote on it.
Madam Deputy?
Well, we need a motion on the floor. Do we have a motion?
Move approval of the item as presented.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Board Member Galvin to move the item as presented, seconded by Board Member Bieneme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0.
Okay. I believe that's it for the CRA meeting. At this time, we will. Well, are there any reports of any sort? No? Okay, so we'll take a short recess for about 5 minutes and we'll come back to. Or start the new. Okay. Okay.
No, they haven't.
Now we adjourn the CRA.